Kari Lake is speaking facts. Watch this.
YouTuber. Here's my question. How is a YouTuber able to uncover hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud before any agencies in Minnesota did?
Well, Nick Shirley is an incredible patriotic American. He loves his country. I've had the chance to get to know him. I just saw him a few weeks ago at the White House and told him how proud I was of the work he'd done. This might be his best work yet. In one day, he goes to Minnesota and he uncovers over $100 million in fraud in just a few hours. Imagine if Governor Walz, instead of hiring some firm to do an audit, hired Nick Shirley to go in and figure it out. This is horrendous. I watched Nick's 42-minute video twice, and I was just sickened by it because I used to live in Minnesota. I have family there. The people of Minnesota are hardworking. They never asked for this influx of Somalis to come to their state, but they welcome them. And they work hard. They've been paying their taxes.
Neither did America ask for this influx. We didn't ask for it. We watched them open that border up, and we saw them by the hundreds of thousands flood this country. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be honest with you. I dealt with anxiety after seeing that. And then it worsened when we saw Secretary Mayorkas come to the mic and said, we have a broken system, but there's no open border. That's what they was telling us. And so they flooded, and its influx happened around the country, raising interest rates, raising the price of rent, raising mortgage, creating a housing crisis.
And find out they'd been ripped off by these people who came in, never assimilated, never ever said thank you to the people of Minnesota for their generosity, instead screwed them over day after day after day to the tune of billions of dollars. Tim Walz is in deep trouble. And Tampon Tim, there's not enough tampons in the world.
Is he really? I mean, you know, we haven't seen any action. We've seen 98 arrests. We're talking about a scale of massive fraud, coercion, conspiracy, and we're only talking about 98 of these people. Do you know their names? Are they in political position? Have they stepped aside or created legislation that created the opportunity for this to take place? And did they also ignore it? No, these are low-level things. When they told us 98 arrests, I was like, man, get out of here. Is this a joke? I don't know the name of any of these people that was arrested. And I'm going to show you something later on in the video where they're not even staying in jail.
Stop the bleeding right now, because this thing is going to burst wide open. And if we are lucky, you will be behind bars, and you'll be lucky to just be behind bars. Actually, Tim Walz probably would enjoy being behind bars. He comes off as the kind of guy who would enjoy prison life, but he's a disgusting individual who's allowed this to happen. He's perpetuated this. He stood by and watched it happening. And I blame Tim Walz and a lot of the leadership, and I use that term loosely, in Minnesota for allowing this to happen over the years. I just feel terrible, though, for the people of Minnesota who've worked so hard and paid their taxes all these years. And by the way, it's not just the people of Minnesota. These were state and federal funds. So every American out there working and toiling and paying your taxes, this is an affront and assault on you as well.
Yeah, it is. Every tax-paying American. Those federal funds were just wasted, possibly sent to a terrorist group. You know, in the video, Shirley stands in front of one of the daycares, which appears to be abandoned completely, and it's a weekday. Take a look.
Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong, and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Education
Sick.
Secretary Linda McMahon even commented on the video. She wrote, "There are not enough words to describe the breathtaking failure that has happened under the watch of Tim Walz." How absolutely, I mean, I think it's criminal. I personally think it's criminal.
Oh,
I don't think there's any way
100%.
possible that Tim Walz did not know what was going on with all of this fraud happening.
Of course it's criminal. And now Kari Lake is getting ready to get heated because this is upsetting. Kari Lake is in the know. Listen, she knows President Donald Trump. She's friends with President Donald Trump. I know Kari Lake. We ran for Congress. She ran for Senate. She ran for governor. I was running for Congress. I know her. She's a fighter. She's a great woman of faith, and she's very in close with President Donald Trump. So she should be in the know. But check this out.
Happening in all these daycare centers. Him or
I'm going
Ilhan
to take it
Omar.
a step further. I think this is treasonous. This is an act against the American people. This is knowingly. I believe this is happening knowingly. I believe this is part of how you win elections in Minnesota is you get the huge block of people who are coming here and defrauding the American people and the goodwill of the American people. I am so fed up right now. I wish that you could feel the anger that I have.
This is why we have to stop this chain migration, birthright citizenship. We need to get rid of these people right now. Get rid of all the Somalians, get them out of there, because what these Democrats have done was bring them in by the thousands upon thousands and put them in a concentrated area. Any area where they want to win a seat, they put them in there, give them IDs, and give them a right to vote, right? Not a right to vote, but they help them to illegally vote, and this is how they win. You bring 80,000 people into my district here in Arizona, 80,000, and if those 80,000 are of one mindset, a Muslim mindset, or if they're all Democrat, then it's going to be impossible for a Republican, an America First candidate like me who was born in this country, but you bring illegals over here, and you put them in this country who knows nothing about this country. All they know is that they're getting free money, free housing, and cash from a certain political party. And so I'm going to vote for that certain political party, although they are antithetical to this country, although they are an anti-America country, party, which is the Democrats. And I'm running for U.S. Congress, and I'm looking for 2,000 American patriots who want change, who want Americans in the U.S. Congress. 2,000 of you starting this month to donate $100 to my campaign, just $100, a one-time donation. Help me kick off the month of January 2026 and let us get this thing cracking. Help us kick it off and get it going. Because if we raise the money that I'm hoping to raise in this month, we're going to go out to President Donald Trump. We're going to have a conversation with him about how we're going to win this district. Help me out. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Inside of me after seeing this story and realizing the goodwill of the American people is being taken advantage of, and there's not one damn person with handcuffs on. I'm so damn sick of this. David, I'm so sick of it. And
there's my point. I'm going to let her finish.
I think that the anger I have inside after seeing this, and the anger of seeing the corruption in Washington, D.C., where I'm now working, the corruption at my agency, the corruption at agency after agency, and there's not a damn person in handcuffs. Yet they
Are you tired of this? I am.
Dragged Roger Stone out of his house. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They attacked President Trump. When are we going to see some effing handcuffs on some effing criminals in this country? The American people.
Now, Kari Lake is a Christian. You know, Kari Lake is a Christian, but she's fired up, and she's not using the actual F word, but she's fired up. She invited me to lead the prayer. I'm a pastor. I got saved at 17, and I was a Christian, devout, even going to Arizona State, even when I went into the pros and played in the NFL, and I led the team chaplain. So Kari Lake invited me to do her prayers, and so don't let these little F's, fool you about her. She's a kind-hearted lady, but she's fired up.
Have had it up to here, and we want some people locked up, prosecuted, behind bars for the rest of their lives. We're sick.
And I'm not saying that because Christians shouldn't get upset. Jesus got upset. Jesus went in there and turned over tables. And let me tell you something else, too. He got so upset that he created a place called hell. So don't think that being a Christian means that you never get upset and that you're supposed to look at everything from the positive side. Is hell positive? Is Judgment Day positive? So stop all of this la-la Christianity stuff. That's false. That's false Christianity. There is loving, and then there is judgment and justice and all of that. And we've got to learn to balance that, especially through studying Scripture and when it comes to our lives and justice in this country. If we keep suppressing judgment and justice, well, then we're no longer going to have a country. You have murderers running the country. They keep getting out of jail and killing our kids and killing our fellow citizens. At some point, you got to practice justice instead of this false love.
And tired of it.
Yeah, well, I hear you. I feel you. I feel the exact same way. Hopefully every single American watching feels the exact same way. And that is the question. When are the handcuffs going to come out? Ironically, Governor Tim Walz, he insists that he worked for years to crack down on the fraud. And to think he was this close, Kari, this close to becoming our vice president. You think any of this would have came out? Or if it had come out, it would have just been brushed under the rug if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were in the Oval right now?
Can you imagine if this was President Trump's background? The fake news would have actually done some digging into it. But they've done no digging into this. It took Nick Shirley, an incredible citizen journalist, one day to go and uncover this. And the media has been silent. They've been completely radio silence on this whole thing. It's disgusting. Not only did Nick Shirley uncover hundreds of millions in fraud, he destroyed the mainstream media in one afternoon in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. And, the fake news is done. Don't believe a word they say. I've always said turn them off. Don't read their headlines. If they're saying something about someone, imagine it's the opposite, because they're just a bunch of lying individuals who have no care for this country. And thank God for Nick Shirley and the work he's doing. I hope he goes back to Minnesota and continues to dig around. I would be more than happy, and I think a lot of Americans would, to donate to his security, because he probably would need it in that state. And I'd be happy to donate money to purchase handcuffs to put some of these criminals in not just Minnesota, but California, Arizona, Georgia, all of these states, these people who have been perpetuating crimes and fraud upon the American people, in handcuffs and lock them up. We're tired of waiting.
Yeah, we're tired of waiting, almost out of time. I know I've also seen reporting that there's similar daycares like this run by Somalis in other states, I believe Oregon. How rampant is it? And do you have confidence in the FBI and Kash Patel to get some handcuffs on?
Golden question. Now, I'm going to have something to say after this. We're going to talk about this. But if you want to watch this interview in its entirety without my interruption, I'll put a link to it in this description box. But that's the question. Will Kash Patel and Pam Bundy go to work on this? And her answer is gonna surprise you, right? And I'm gonna have something to say after that.
Some people, and do you think anybody high profile will get some handcuffs put on them? About 20 seconds for you.
Well, David, think about how we grew up. We love this country. We worked hard. You worked hard for everything you've ever had in your life. I have too. That's how the American spirit is. These people have come in here as immigrants. Nobody voted on whether the entire Somali population was going to move into Minneapolis. A bunch of politicians allowed it to happen. They don't understand our culture, our history, that our forefathers have died for this country, bled for this country, and they've taken advantage of us. I hope something is done. I don't know whether anything will be done, but if not,
Now, that's the problem. That's a real problem, ladies and gentlemen. Kari Lake is close friends with President Donald Trump, and she doesn't know if anything's going to be done. President Donald Trump doesn't know if anything's going to be done because he keeps yelling from his Truth Social that such and such need to be arrested. He'll say such and such needs to be arrested. Such and such needs to be arrested. So and so need to go to jail. And nothing happens. Silence. And when we put pressure on Pam Bundy, President Donald Trump does what he does. He's being nice. He said, oh, Pam is doing a wonderful job. But she's not, and he knows she's not. He's trying to be kind, but from his social media, he's urging her to arrest these people, but she's not. And I know some of these YouTubers are, being positive and saying that it's going to happen. And all. I mean, it's been a whole year. Now we're in the new year, and nothing's being done. How long did it take to investigate when you see the crime on video? It's on video. AG Merrick Garland didn't have any videotapes. He didn't have anything. He arrested people. He pressed charges against people. But if they're still collecting evidence when the evidence is plain and seen by us, and we're sharing it on our social media, and we're sharing it within our own, stratosphere, and we're just repeating information back and forth, and they see it, and President Donald Trump sees it, it's not happening. This is Eric Trump. This is President Donald Trump's son. He doesn't know if anything's going to happen. How do I say that? Here's what he did here on Twitter. People should start going to jail in Minnesota. He didn't say, I know people's getting ready to go to jail. Everybody understand we got the goods on them. It's getting ready to happen. He's saying people should start going to jail. People better start going to jail. Eric doesn't know. President Donald Trump doesn't know. Kari Lake doesn't know. And the ones that they do arrest and take them to court, the judges are letting them off. Check this out.
A stunning decision by a Hennepin County judge throwing out a jury's guilty verdict in a $7.2 million home health care fraud case. Prosecutors say Abdi Fattah Yusuf.
$7.2 million.
Home health care fraud case. Prosecutors say Abdi Fattah Yusuf and his wife ran Promise Health out of a mailbox in a building where several other home health care companies were supposedly located. They were accused of buying luxury items for themselves with the taxpayer money they allegedly stole, overbilling Medicaid and the PCA scam. Even though the jury swiftly convicted Yusuf, Judge Sarah West says there
Look at this lady.
wasn't enough direct evidence that he knew fraud was occurring in his company. Jurors I talked to were surprised. Listen to this.
I am shocked. I'm shocked based off of all of the evidence that was presented to us and the obvious guilt that we saw based off of the said evidence that this case would be thrown out. It was not a difficult decision whatsoever.
The Attorney General has already appealed this decision. I'm Lou Bergoose. Follow for more.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat mindset is the problem with this country. And anytime they get in political position or in of judicial position, or if they get into spiritual position, you know, they start doing the LGBT, they start doing the DEI, they'll do a whole lot of things, but it's never for what it's meant to be. It is to operate in that twisted, warped mindset that is antithetical to America, that is opposite, anti-Christ, anti-God, anti-family, anti-human existence, and anti-justice. The juror, you heard him say that the evidence, they were totally surprised. They didn't waste any time to hit this and to come back with a guilty verdict. They didn't waste any time to hit a guilty verdict. They knew that this guy was guilty. $7.9 million. I don't have to shoot. These boys don't have to play football, go out there and bang your body up and have arthritis in the neck and bad joints and all that stuff to make that kind of money. Just come over here as an illegal and go into elderly care, go into child care, and get on food stamps. And then while you're raking in millions, you don't even have to pay rent. You get that for free. Plus, you get thousands on food stamps a month. You see, and they'll just take care of you. And then you can ride around in the nicest car and have plenty of food, all the food you want. You can just be wasteful and travel and all that kind of stuff. But there's more. Check this out.
I'm about to tell you is something you usually see in mob movies, except this didn't happen in New York in the 60s. This happened in Minnesota this year. So prosecutors say that a 31-year-old woman named Layden Muhammad Ali flew all the way from Seattle to Minneapolis for one thing: to bribe a juror. Not just any juror, but the youngest member in the panel, the only juror of color. According to the FBI, Ali followed this person out from the courthouse parking ramp and followed her home, and then spent the next 3 days circling her neighborhood, 19 times to be exact. GPS data from Ali's rental car literally made a heat map around the juror's home, like she was being hunted. And she wasn't acting alone. Prosecutors say 4 men, some of them on trial for stealing tens of millions of dollars from the federal child nutrition program, were directing her every move through encrypted chats. Then came the part that still doesn't feel real. Ali meets up with one of the men in a parking lot. He hands her a cardboard box with $200,000 in cash. She stuffs $120,000 into a Hallmark gift bag, drives to the juror's house, drops it off like it's a Christmas present. Inside the bag was the cash and a set of written instructions telling the juror to vote not guilty on all counts, and to convince the rest of the jury by saying the government was targeting Somali immigrants. And here's the crazy part: this type of jury tampering hasn't happened in Minnesota since 1961. The judge called it an attack on the justice system. And now, since all of this has come out, all 5 defendants, including Ali, have pled guilty. These Somalis, man, it keeps looking worse and worse for them.
I'm Pastor Jerome Davison. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Go to Jerone.vote. That's my website. Jerone, Jerone.vote is my website. We'd love to have your support. Thank you so much, and God bless.